o'clock and 7 o'clock. It's the lounge.
Oh wow! They gave me
It's
gin and that.
he just be freestyling, man. I'm saying you just have to accept
All right. Thank you for that. Handed the host with the most. I think that's Genevieve. I'm gonna let Jen have her name. You know, we can't take that, but
yeah, we can't.
Maybe on the lounge.
Though.
Maybe on the lounge.
It's all right though. Handy show this smooth too.
I love it. I told him, Handy, how much we gotta just keep you to do our introduction every Wednesday. All right, he said thumbs up. Got it.
We're gonna have to give him a script.
Okay, we can do that.
We're gonna give him a script. Say, see if you follow it at least a little bit, right?
That's it. What's up, everybody? Hello. Happy Wednesday. We made it again.
We made it.
Because our weeks are Thursday to Wednesday, you know.
Just celebrating the year anniversary too.
Oh, we didn't mention that last week. Thank you.
On 90.1 for 1 year. So
I'm late. Hold on.
Thank you to all of our supporters.
I'm coming.
All of our celebrate we got the guest of all guests about to come on the airways now. So I'm gonna let you let them know who's coming.
Well, first of all, for those who are just joining us, because we're 4 weeks into this time slot. So this is not the Keith Stamps Surviving Mississippi. This is the Lounge Radio Show with Marlena and Lex Luga, and we've been here. We were 4 o'clock before, and then the past few weeks we're at 6 o'clock. So as Lex stated, we made a year, April the 3rd last week. So excited. Thank you, 90.1, for allowing us to come in and do a little bit different show here, right? We play Southern Soul. We have music guests in, and we have Joe Horn was here. Thank you, Joe Horn. He came by last year, and so many other people. So we appreciate you guys for just sticking with us for the past year. And stay tuned. We got much more, but you are absolutely right. So as you know, last year on I call it list, a bucket list of people I wanted to interview.
Yes.
I was telling him I had 8-Ball MJG on there.
Yep.
I had Juvenile on there.
Yep. I reached out to 8-Ball.
They haven't responded, but they gonna respond. Did they respond? Okay, well
8-Ball did. He did respond.
We gonna talk about that later. But I had about a list of 20, 30 people.
Yep.
And on that list,
we're getting the first one from the list. We're getting the first one from the list. And who would that be?
Mayor.
What mayor?
Chokwe.
From where?
From Jackson, Mississippi.
Jackson, Mississippi.
Jackson. Say it again. How they say
Jackson, Mississippi.
We
got Jackson, Mississippi. Man, gonna be here on the Lounge Radio Show.
I need to know.
Jack Mayor that has been on the TV, I've been on. I done seen him on the Worldwide News. I done seen him as the Drake lookalike.
Hey, definitely. That's what my daughter said. You got Drake. I said that's not Drake. Maybe it's twin.
Although now, I hope it's spelled on mine. We might have to get a few clickbaits by saying something about Drake or something.
If you keep saying Drake, maybe, but you gotta be careful. Drake's suing people now.
Yeah,
so we gotta be careful. But we got the
mayor.
Mayor.
I just be talking.
Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba on the show today. Like I said, 1 year anniversary. First one on my list I check off, and I'm excited about that. So you guys stay tuned. Make sure to share this. This is gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one.
Great one, great one. Because you already know if you tune into the lounge, we do have fun here. So we are gonna have a little fun, but of course we do have to touch on topics that must be touched on for the city of Jackson, because it's all still about making the Jackson the best possible city that we can at hand, and it is an ongoing process. So we're gonna ask a few questions that maybe some of you might want to know. We also going to open the phone line up a little later. We still have our ticket giveaway as well. So, you guys stay tuned for that. He's going to be coming on in a few minutes. But first, we got to do our norm.
Yeah.
So now, what we had yesterday at Southern Soul Tuesday.
Southern Soul Tuesday at M-Bar. You guys, we had, of course, as we do every Tuesday, live performances. We had Rico Charm. Shout out to Rico. Thank you so much for coming in. I think he's from Jackson. And then we had a young man reached out to me, and when I saw his registration, I said, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I said, this is in Jackson. You know that, right? Yeah. And he's like, yes, ma'am. I want to come down there. So he drove all the way from Tulsa, Oklahoma to perform last night. His name is Kevin Reynolds. So thank you again, Kevin, for driving down here, and he shut it down. Great artist.
I know he did. Kevin is one of the artists whose songs we work because he's got a song called "Welcome to the Trail Ride." So
heard that.
We've been working with him. Our marketing company working with him about a month, and he was like, hey, I want to come down to opportunities because I let him know that "Welcome to the Trail Ride." That's what we should have had him play.
We'll definitely.
But that's going to be a record that you're going to eventually hear if you haven't heard it. So shout out to Kevin for choosing to come on down. Yeah. So
and so that's again, if you're a Southern Soul artist and you got original music and you want to be and that's a lot of up and coming artists. Come on out. Well, first of all, just visit the lounge or Marlena Wright on Facebook. You'll see the registration form. And we can make it happen. So each and every Tuesday, free to get in. 2-for-1 drinks. We're lounging, so 2-for-1 drinks, and half price on some appetizers. So we got that. I do want to mention our sponsor. Shout out to our sponsor, Mr. Michael Jordan Transportation Service, for being a proud underwriter of the Lounge Radio Show and WNPR. Michael Jordan Transportation Service offers quality transportation services all over Mississippi. You can go to www.mjstransportation1.com for your transportation needs. That's again, www.mjstransportation1.com.
And no, that's not number 23. Y'all stop asking me that.
It's still not that, Jordan.
Y'all know that's not the Chicago 23 Jordan. It's a whole bunch of Michael Jordan.
That's it. So as we stated, we're going to do ticket giveaway. So you guys be sure to stay tuned for this interview because we will ask a question from the mayor's interview today. And the first person to call in and get that answer correct will win. What are we giving away? We're going to do the coffee.
We're going to do the coffee tickets for you could spend $10 to learn about the coffee all day.
All you could drink coffee.
I told you that's the way we're going to pitch it. That's the way we're going to. Because it's $10 to get in, free parking. And you get a chance to learn about the coffee. It's the coffee festival. We're going to have different
flavors,
different coffee
how to
brewers.
process, how to make espressos and lattes. It's gonna be very educational and flavorful.
There you go, educational and flavorful from all over the state as well. Mississippi has a lot of coffee manufacturers that I did not know existed until we did his interview. And then I went and looked it up. I said, man, it's a lot.
I had no idea.
It's a lot of it's a handful that's right around the Jackson area too. So most of them are going to be participating in the coffee festival, and that is on Saturday, May the 10th. It's at the Mississippi Trade Mart. So from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Free parking. Sample great coffee, attend coffee classes, and explore custom coffee roasting. You can get more information about that at jacksoncoffeefestival.com. And I believe Mr. What's his name? I forgot his name. That was here last week. This is the first year for the festival in Jackson. So that's major. Definitely come out, support. So we get 2 tickets.
2 tickets. One caller, one person.
One caller gets 2 tickets. Yeah. So shout out to our caller last week. Both of our callers last week that won tickets. And so the other caller that won tickets, they won tickets to the Southern Soul and Blues concert series at Ground Zero Biloxi. We had a spectacular show. Man, we had Stacey Adams. Stacey Adams is a superstar. If you haven't heard of him, he's got a new song with Anthony Hamilton that's getting ready to get released. He's got a new line dance song. I don't know if it's line dance. I call it trill. He got the fan popping song. He got a fan popping song. Yeah, man. But they got up and danced. Shout out to Mika. She put on a fabulous performance as well. Shout out to Lady Red Top, which will be our guest next week. Mississippi Soul Girl. Shout out to Denise Cannon. She came and did her thing. And then Lady D. So artists, let me let you know this, because Lady D was discovered at the Southern Soul Tuesdays.
Well,
she
actually,
got to just perform.
First Sunday under Big O and Jazz. But then she came. We invited her over.
By me getting booked.
There you go. Yes, sir. We give you the credit.
She had a spectacular voice. And so to have her come to Ground Zero and bring that blues feeling, because her music and her voice was more so the blues. So she was the blues part of the Southern Soul and concert series, right? So I got to give a special shout out to her and thank her for coming.
Sound like a great show. I saw a little bit of that. It was a great show. So we're gonna keep it moving because I know people like we tired of hearing y'all. So I do want to continue our news. You should know, and we won't do our artist of the week, but news you should know. So we've been seeing we've been in the entertainment space for a while, for a year. So I know you longer than me, right?
Yeah,
and I know I've seen a lot on social media and talking to people about the turnout for the last primary election. And so I have this little thing I wrote saying, hey, you'll show up for the party, but not the polls. And so people were upset at people for, hey, that we see people popping fans, we see people line dancing, but we don't see them at the polls. And so, like I said, let's be real. People will spend hours getting dressed up and standing in lines and spending money to go party for a few hours. And this is because of the instant gratification that comes with that. It feels good right now. And again, no judgment. We do entertainment here. We encourage you to pop your fans. We do that. But when it's time to vote, it's either I'm too busy or it doesn't matter. My vote won't matter anyway. And that is energy that's misplaced because you got to think about it. Right now, you may not feel excited when you go vote. But 10 years from now, your older self is going to regret that decision. And that's where the excitement fades because whatever you don't do now, those are going to be the consequences. The consequences are going to have people in that you don't agree with, or having people making laws where it's going to make your future self, or make life harder for your future self. So all I'm asking, pop your fan, do your line dance, and have a great time, but vote for your future self. Vote for your future self because that's where you will have that excitement later in life because you made the right choice at that moment, that day.
And one thing I want to talk right before we break the mayor on with you saying that, I want my listener audience to understand that your local election is really more important than your presidential election.
That's it.
We do have a lot of people turn out for the presidential election because if you actually look at the polls, when it's time for a presidential election, you have a higher turnout for your local elections. But when it's just a local election, there is a significant and very significant drop-off. I want everyone listening and to share this message. Your local election is the most important election that directly affects you during that particular time where you are able to help someone get in that position that can truly affect you and your loved one's life.
Yeah. It may not happen
presidential
instantly.
election is not the exact same. It trickles down.
Right.
But your local officials are the ones who can really make a change in the city. And I'm glad we actually touched on this while we have the mayor.
We thought maybe he would be next week, but I said, well, I'm gonna make this statement today because we want you to come out every Tuesday in Barton,
April 22nd.
But we want you to show up to the polls, and that's you come out every Tuesday, and these elections are how many times a year? Every how often a year? How many years or whatever? So just make a note to yourself that, hey, I'm gonna do this for my future self.
We're gonna have to give away some on Tuesday for those who vote that Tuesday.
Hey,
so Tuesday.
Let me work on this. So we're gonna go ahead and move along. Okay. Guys, we will have Mayor Lumumba on right after this song, but to call in, the number is 601-948-5950. That's 601-948-5950. What we're going to do, we're going to allow you to ask a question. We will keep it respectful. If it gets disrespectful, we will have to disconnect that call, but we will keep it respectful. You'll get a chance to ask a question, and after you've asked your question, we're going to disconnect and move on just for the sake of time and allow him to answer.
You have to tune in to listen to the answer.
That's it. And also online, we will be listening to some of you. Shout out to our Facebook viewers and YouTube viewers. I see you. We will be taking some of those questions as well. So, Handy, give us a little bit of some, and on the other side, Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba.
What a hand clap.
Oh, see, Lex, you got to stay on me. You got to get some hand claps over there. Get some hand claps. You got to stay tuned. You can come on.
I can step up.
Okay, now look, I don't want you to trip. All right.
I was out pumping gas. Soon
people. So they were doing gas giveaways. Yeah. So they kind of got me there.
We know coming in.
I'm happy to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
All right. We are back. You're back with the Lounge Radio Show with Marlena and Lex. And as we promised, as you see who's been added here, Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba. Welcome to the lounge.
Thank you for inviting me to the lounge. I appreciate it, Marlena. I appreciate it, Lex. Look forward to our conversation. Not only the normal questions that people ask, but let's get into this beautiful art that we've given great contribution to here in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi.
That's
absolutely.
it. Yeah. So like we were discussing before, I guess to get started, my first question, we were discussing about Southern Soul. I know you said, hey, I'm a King George guy, because he's the prominent.
I love King George, but I got to give a shout out to my good friend, Big Yayo.
Shout out the country cousin.
That's my country cousin.
That's my guy.
Shout out, Yayo.
Little as it is known, he's the one who cut some of my commercials back in the day. So Yayo, go back.
Yayo, we have conversation. I'm like, Yayo, you a veteran at this thing. You've been around, and the longevity is to be commended. So definitely shout out to Yayo. But we started last year, and shout out to Commissioner DeKeeper Stamp at the time. I think 2017, Councilman DeKeeper Stamps, he recognized Jackson, declared it as the birthplace. And last year we said, hey, Mississippi needs to be the birthplace. Like, let's include everybody, and that's what we did. This is our second year celebrating, so we choose Jackson as our. I think the story goes, Sir Charles made the first. Sir Charles Jones was the first to recognize Southern Soul, and he cut that record here in Jackson. So we said, Mayor, what can we do to work together? We want to make Jackson to Southern Soul what Nashville is to country. How can we all work together to make that happen?
Absolutely. Well, we need to make it a part of the attraction that we draw people in for, right? We need to make certain that we're marketing ourselves in that way. Far too often, we've been the creative genius of a lot of forms of music and invention, and we don't have the benefit of profiting from our own genius.
That's true.
Mississippi, certainly the roots of the blues and even jazz, right, comes from different parts of Mississippi, and we've allowed, our neighbors to the north and south to claim those things, right? And certainly not disrespecting, their contribution. But we are the birthplace of America's music, right?
That's it.
And so we need to do a greater or better job, I should say, of making sure that we promote and lift that up. One of the things I'm excited about is that the city of Jackson, we have been selected as the host of the Mississippi Folk Festival, which is the national folk festival. Folk festival is a little deceiving, right? It gives you, but it's actually a music festival that celebrates America's music. So you'll have everything from blues, jazz, hopefully, Southern soul, gospel, folk, indigenous music, and it brings about 100,000 people a year. And so we have that for 3 years, but it's not just about those 3 years. This is our opportunity to reinvigorate and restart Jubilee Jam, where we can have festivals, more festivals. The reality, and I learned this from Mayor Michael Bloomberg, he said, listen, culture influences capital far more than capital influences culture. And so when we have events, the things you're doing, helps spearhead economic development in our city. Our greatest asset are the people in this city. We do a good job of not only making people feel warm and see the hospitality, but our culture is infectious, right? And so we need to look at every opportunity to put that on display so that we can bring people into our city.
That's it, yeah.
So one of the things about when you're bringing people into the city to events like that, people want to feel safe, and we have had those issues. Is there anything that's coming down the pipeline that could put in place safety where people know that, hey, if I go there, I'm going to be safe. I'm going to get home to my loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a few things that I want to say with respect to that. First, speaking to my own personal narrative, I have to say that I'm no friend of crime. My brother was shot in the head when I was in the fourth grade here in Jackson, Mississippi. So I know the direct impact that families feel when that type of harm happens. And, you know, we know that unfortunately this year at the St. Patrick's Day parade, hours after the parade had ended, there was an unfortunate event that not only led to someone losing their life, but also led to several people being injured.
Yeah.
Here's the reality, though. The city of Jackson does a really good job of putting on mass events. Not only do we have several Jackson State, games each and every year, the Jackson Police Department, even in this year's parade, did a masterful job in making sure that more than 120,000 people, let me say that again, more than 120,000 people, that during the parade, nobody was harmed. And sometimes, it only takes, one knucklehead, to ruin it. And so we are doing things to ensure a safer Jackson. One thing, one crime, one death is one death too many. And so we respect those families that have gone through the trauma of that. But we also have to take control of our own narratives because, you can't tell it by watching the news. You can't tell it by social media, but Jackson's crime, and I'm talking about violent and property crime, has been going down the last 3 consecutive years, right? And the Jackson Police Department is doing an outstanding job of when a crime takes place in solving that. They're at an 89% solvability rate this year. They finished last year with 81%, and it was around 65 the year before that. The national average is about 55, right? Yeah. So that gives you a comparison. But we're not only investing in police, we're not only investing in their tools, we're investing in community. So we're working with organizations like Strong Arms of Jackson, which is a credible messenger program. We're working with Living with Purpose, which is a program that comes out of the Youth Detention Center that gives young people tools of how to deal with conflict. We're working with Operation Good, which is a cure violence model organization, because we've created an umbrella organization called the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery. So when a crime happens, we're going to make sure that we have a well-equipped police department. But once the police are called, the harm has already happened. So what investments are we making to ensure that that doesn't happen? We want to open up youth engagement centers. We're looking at Mary C. Jones as an opportunity that when a young person is out past a concerning hour, that we can bring them in filled with social workers and psychologists and some element of law enforcement just to make sure that nothing happens. And extracurricular activities so that we diagnose and we triage what's happening. If a young person commits a crime, then there's a remedy for that. There's a process for that. But if a young lady is out past a certain hour because maybe she's being physically abused at home, we don't want to engage her in a cycle of the judicial system. We want to make certain that we're using the proper tool to deal with the circumstance at hand. And so these are the investments we're making. We're seeing some early success, but we're far from satisfied. And the things that I'm going to talk about aren't just about what the city is trying to do and how we're trying to lean in, but it's empowering community to be a part of the solution. What I fundamentally believe in is democratizing power. You shouldn't look for your mayor to have all the solutions. You shouldn't look for your mayor to be creative or smart enough in order to figure out everything that's going on in Jackson. And the reason that people don't come out and vote is because they don't feel that they are engaged in the process. And so I'm telling you that I'm trying to engage you. I'm telling you that I can't do this alone, right? And so when I came out with the slogan, when I become mayor, you become mayor, my first election, it wasn't only a statement of, my accountability to you. It was a statement of your responsibility to the city. And if you hadn't been responsible to the city, then we all have to answer questions about that.
Because the people hire and fire, right? The people are your boss. They work, or you work for them. And people need to understand that position they have when it's not like, okay, the mayor's here, we're done, I can go back home. Imagine if you manage the business, you have to monitor and keep your hand on the pulse throughout that process.
For Southern Soul to grow, it not only takes the artists,
right?
It takes the fan base and their desire and their demand for more of the music, right? And the greater the demand, the greater the supply, right?
That's right.
And so, that's the same theory that we want operating in our city. We want people understanding that we don't believe that 3 minutes on a city council microphone equals community participation. So we're trying to have things like participatory budgeting. What am I saying in that? Instead of the city just funding, projects and programs, we want to understand and determine what you value most, right? So that you can say, well, yeah, that youth program is nice, but our young people, that's a little outdated for them. They don't want to do that. Instead, they rather you invest in this. And so the city can make adjustments in what we're funding, because a city budget is a moral document. It should reflect the values of our community. And if we don't understand what those values are, if we're not doing our homework to assess what that is, then we're all failing in that process.
I want to back to 2017, your first campaign.
Before the great.
But before, younger. I saw the video. I said, okay, this is younger. 21-ish, somewhere around there. But you made a pledge to make Jackson the most radical city on the planet. Yeah. What exactly did that mean, and what specific initiatives have you implemented towards that?
Well, there's a number of things we're doing, but let me tell you where that came from. It actually came from what continues to be a critique now, and was a critique of my father at the same time, that maybe we were just too radical in order to see Jackson advance. And so I did my homework, y'all. I looked up the word radical, right?
That's it.
And I learned that a radical is a person who seeks change. And so I started thinking, if we look outside these walls, if we look into our community and we see a need for change, then the reality is we should be as radical as the circumstances dictate we should be. When I look at cross history about the people that I revere most, they were considered radical. Fannie Lou Hamer was a radical, right? Ida B. Wells was a radical. Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X were radicals. Jesus Christ was a radical, right? And so I don't even know if I'm deserving of that label, right? But I do believe that we need to be aggressively fighting for change within this community. But we're trying to make City of Jackson radical through making sure that we're making sure that we have equity in the infrastructure and the things that serve our people. Fighting for $800 million, not just limiting ourselves to a conversation with people locally, but making sure that it expands broadly. When we're talking about making sure there's accountability in policing, we're the first one to create an officer ID task force to ensure that when there is a circumstance of police violence, that there is a process to ensure that nothing inappropriate went on. By making sure that we don't have juveniles perp walk, ensuring that as they make immature decisions that they aren't scarred or marred for life. Making certain that if someone does die at the hands of police violence, that the image that we display on them is not one that is a police mugshot. None of us would like to be shown with the worst day of our lives. And when we live in an era and in a time where you can virtually find a picture on anyone, on social media and everything else, then we don't have to make them suffer the second death. And so, the things that I'm talking about participatory budgeting, making sure that the residents of Jackson have a say-so in what their city looks like. There are a number of things. We want to have a citizen review board, making sure that justice is dispersed in our legal system. These are things that we're trying to build on and lean into. But at the most radical thing that we can do, as I said, is democratize power. Make certain that the people of Jackson have access. I'll end with this, and I can get long-winded, y'all, so forgive me. My father and my parents, who were organizers their whole life, when my father decided to run for mayor, some of his comrades said, Chokwe, how are you going to free the land, like you're always talking about, by fixing potholes? And what he said, he had a beautiful analysis. He said, listen, that's exactly what we have to do. We have to connect pothole to pothole and community to community. So people in Jackson, Mississippi understand why there's a community that looks just like theirs in Gary, Indiana, right? And Tulsa, Oklahoma. And in the process of fixing that pothole, what you learn is that the pothole was never your problem in the first place. Your problem is that you don't control the decision-making process that leads to a pothole being fixed. Your problem is that you don't control the economic development that takes place in your community. Your problem is that you don't control the curriculum that educates your children. So your problem is a fundamental one, that you lack the self-determination to dictate the quality of life you so justly deserve. And so until we democratize power, until we understand that we deserve to be in control of our water system, we deserve to be in control of our airport, we deserve to be in control of valuable property that's in our city, and we should use it to the benefit of our community. We certainly welcome all people of goodwill and intention to come into the city, but we're not going to move our people from one state of misery to the next, and have a war on the people.
So now, one of the most powerful intangibles is hope for a person. And in my opinion, a lot of the things that go on in the city of Jackson, a lot of our younger individuals feel hopeless. Now, you've been in office for 8 years, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're seeking another term. We have the runoff election coming up in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
From other citizens' concerns that maybe are not so proud to be from Jackson,
mm-hmm.
what can you do in your next term that you feel that you could make someone feel proud to be from Jackson or to live in Jackson?
Well, I think that first we can talk about starting with the things that you do, right? As you promote the creative genius of Jacksonians, right? Mm-hmm. We don't do a good job of shouting out our own narratives. Not only have we had musical talent and genius here, the only key to the city, and I take the key to the city very, very, it's the highest award, so I take that very, personally, and want to make sure that, not personally in terms of for me, but that there has to be a high standard. Mm-hmm. I gave to Angie Thomas, who wrote the book The Hate You Give, right? A young woman from Georgetown, right? Georgetown in Jackson, Mississippi, right? Who is now an international author and has had several books written from her works. We have the benefit of the legacy of Richard Wright. We have the benefit of the legacy of Eudora Welty. We have the benefit of the legacy of Margaret Walker Alexander. So we have, very fertile soil for what we do here in Jackson. And so we have to speak to those things, and we have to engage young people in terms of the things that they find themselves most attracted to now. You talk about young people that feel lost. Well, when I'm talking about these organizations that are engaging young people, the notion is that we can't parachute in and think that we can tell young people that, listen, don't choose that life. It isn't good for you, right? Yeah. But what they see and what they deal with on a frequent basis is, a different example. And so what I'm telling you is I'm building the apparatus, I'm building the structures, I'm building the institutions that can continue to invest, continue to engage. We often talk about, the lack of parenting. And you do have some parents that may lack the skills and need some support in what it looks like. But more often than not, what you have is parents who are trying to make ends meet and put food on the table. Parents who are working 2 and 3 jobs and don't have the luxury of spending time with their children. And so we have to, return to that notion of the village. It takes a village to raise a child. And so the city can help on that. But we're only trying to empower community to be a part of that. I'm telling you about how we want to engage young people that are out past a certain hour. I'm telling you, about how we actually want to go within community when a family suffers, at the hands of a violent event, and deal with the trauma that they're experiencing so that we reduce the likelihood of retaliation. These are the investments that we want to make so that there's a unity, there's a sense of love, there's a sense of purpose. And we also want to make certain that we're giving people the tools for things like home ownership. You get a different lease on life when you own a part of the city, right? When you're thriving instead of just surviving, right? And so that's why we've been able to give, $30,000 towards home ownership in the city of Jackson. We're trying to launch these programs and make certain, not only have we launched them, but we're trying to make sure that people can access them and are aware of them so they understand, the opportunity that exists for them here.
And see, and it goes to what you said, Lex. If the loudest voices in the room are always screaming negative stuff, then these things that he's bringing because I told you, I've been down here 21 years. I've been in this area for 21 years. And I can't name like, okay, this has been bad. My 21 years of experience, and again, I'm from a country town, but my 21 years of experience does not reflect of what maybe some people here, or statewide or nationwide want you to believe about Jackson. So I think, like he's saying, being able to echo those things that are good and great in Jackson.
If Jackson was so bad, they wouldn't be fighting to take it over.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
And so we have to be aware of that.
Yeah.
And we can't allow other people to be in control of our narratives. I'll probably do a horrible job at this, but my wife, who is an English literature professor, tells the story of the tortoise and the leper, where a tortoise is on the trail, the dark trail, and a leopard jumps out and says, "Now I've gotten you. I'm about to kill you." And so the tortoise, begs and pleads to the leopard, please just allow me, if I must die, allow me just a moment. And he starts, kicking up dirt and throwing up trees, and the leopard asks him, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, listen, if I must die, I want the story to be told that someone met their matching, right? So how you tell the narrative, how you control that is something that is always important. And so we far too often give in to the narratives that other people have for us, as opposed to leading and taking charge of our narratives for ourselves.
That's it. That's it.
So hopefully my wife forgives me, because I try to tell that as quickly as possible. She's far more eloquent in how she speaks to it, but
Yeah, well, but that leads into because you're definitely right about that. And one thing about it too, when you're able to do that, perception is reality to that person, even if it's not reality.
Yeah.
And so you're facing challenges right now that that we must touch on, that a lot of our citizens now have a different perception. Because I remember the first time hearing about you and running for office, you brought in an incredible energy to the city. New, youthful, and you had a lot of, as you call it, radical ideas.
Yeah.
But now to carry on to get the third term going, your name has been tainted, and I'm going to be careful. To me, purposely.
Yeah.
And it's led to a perception that maybe not be reality. And now it shows in the voter turnout, because your first turnout, you had a whole bunch of citizens come out. What do you have in place to try to overcome that, or not even try to overcome that, to let the citizens of Jackson know who you are as a person and what you plan to do to help the city of Jackson?
Yeah. And before you answer that, I do want to highlight that. So in 2017, and this is with your opponent in the primary, Mr. Horn, our Senator Horn. So you secured 55% of the vote, and he had 21% back then. In 2021, you secured, it said, approximately 69% with his 21. And in this past election, with him in 48%. With you just under 17, according to the WJTB. Definitely what he's saying it was purposely. But we do know November you were indicted on the federal bribery charge. Do you feel, I know you called it political persecution. Do you feel that it was purpose to change this narrative that we see in these numbers? And well,
let me just talk about, whether we feel that things, are coincidental or not, right? Maybe it's coincidental that I've been fighting and able to get $800 million directly to the city that usually goes through the state, and that angered some people as they were trying to take it over. Maybe it's coincidental that, I've been fighting against the takeover of the airport, as they've been telling me that if you don't give it up, then none of your legislative ask will be provided. Maybe it's coincidental that we're fighting to take over, make sure that we maintain Smith-Will Stadium and those resources. Maybe it's even coincidental that, this particular case comes almost a year to the day of the election. And maybe it's coincidental that the moment that I said that I was running, that I received what you call a target letter that day, right? Within 30 minutes. So those could all be coincidences. But this is more important. This is what I want people to know. That first and foremost, I am not guilty of any wrongdoing, right? I am not guilty of any crime. Now, where I do want the residents to know that I have regret. I'm regretful that, I've been in a position where this can be a distraction, right? Because there are far too many things that Jacksonians are fighting for. We're fighting for, resources for infrastructure. We're fighting for, community members to feel safe.
We do have a caller. I think
we can answer this. And so I don't want to be that distraction, but I do want them to know that I'm not deterred, right? So that's what I respond.
Hey, caller, you're on the Lounge Radio Show with Marlena and Lex with our special guest, Mayor Lumumba. What's your name? I think you may know. This is Mr. Archie.
Absolutely. My name is David L. Archie. And of course, I was a former candidate for mayor, and I was the Hinds County Supervisor for District 2. And so I know that Mayor Lumumba is present, and I just want to say to him, I appreciate the fact that you have put up a fight to stop the takeover of the airport, to stop the takeover of downtown Jackson, to stop the takeover of Lakeland Drive and Northeast Jackson, all those areas where the Republicans are concerned about. They're not concerned about the entire Jackson. They're concerned about the parts of Jackson that they want to run, like Bell Haven and the Fundry. But let me just say this is the main thing I want to say. For all of those listeners that are out there, and this is not coming from the mayor, this is coming from someone that is older than the mayor, that has been involved in civil rights, in community rights, and now political rights as an activist. We know when there's a snake around, and we believe that that snake is John Horn. And we believe that once you reach across the aisle to bring your enemy into your camp, reach across the aisle to bring your enemy into the Democratic primary, the Democratic Party, to either overthrow your party or to infiltrate your party, and telling people that it's okay for the same folks who has harmed us, who has hurt us, who has brought trauma to the city of Jackson. I'm talking about the Republican Party, who has brought trauma to Black folks and African American people throughout this whole entire country with Donald Trump. Now they have a United States Senate that is Republican, a United States House that is Republican. We have a governor in the state of Mississippi that is Republican, a lieutenant governor that is Republican. The only thing that we have is Jackson, Mississippi, in Mississippi. And I'm telling the people today, you will be very sorry if you go to the polls and vote for John Horn on April the 22nd, because the takeover begins with John Horn, and we're not going to allow it. So I'm asking people to go out and vote for Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba. I think that he is the better candidate that is in this runoff, and I think the citizens of Jackson would appreciate it after the fact, not before the fact. It's too late once we decide to go to the polls for John Horn. We need to come together, young people, old people, those that did not vote in this last primary, those that have not cared about voting, but every entire voter in the city of Jackson needs to come back to the polls that voted for those other candidates and vote for the mayor of this city. And so at that point, we know that we are safe and the takeover will not happen under the leadership of Chokwe Antar Lumumba. Thank y'all very much for taking my call.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you, Brother Archie.
All right, and one thing we do have to make sure that we do say too, here at the Lounge Radio Show at 90.1 FM, we do not endorse any candidate. We give every candidate the opportunity to come on our show and let the people know how they feel, that's the reason that they should be voted for.
That's it. Do we have a call?
Have another call?
Call on one. Caller, you're on the Lounge Radio Show with Marlena and Lex Luga. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Don. How y'all doing?
Hey, Don. Well, how are you? And you have a question for the mayor?
I do. I would like to say first of all, thank you, Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba, about being transparent, about letting us know what's going on within the city, what's going on with our airport, with our water system, and everything that you have tried to keep us informed about. I would like to ask a question to you, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm listening.
That question is, since John Horn will not debate you with the issue, will not have a debate with the only candidate that's left in the race with him, the Democratic ticket, will you just go ahead with the town hall and bring the information to the people and let us know what's going on? Since he won't come, will you just come to us and let us know what's going on?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna hang up and all of this.
Thank you, Don.
Well, I thank you, Don, for that question. So absolutely. In fact, the Tougaloo Forum that was scheduled by the Democratic Executive Committee, I told them I would be there. We all knew that they would do that even before a runoff. And so Mr. Horn declined to do it after what he saw as, a good number for him in the first primary. I've always participated anytime there was a runoff. I've stood on a national, or not national, but a televised debate with Mr. Ponto Downey, right?
Okay.
So no matter who it is, I've always been willing to do that. But here's the bigger point. So I'm willing to do that. Here's the bigger point. If people are not going to be accountable to you in this moment when you're voting, right? and not listen and take the questions, the hard questions that residents want to know, then that should be a prelude to what they're going to do if they were elected in office. And so this is a moment where our residents have some serious concerns and they deserve to hear our answers to.
Do you have a date for the town hall already? Date and time?
Well, there was one that was scheduled for yesterday that was canceled after he didn't show up. Okay. There is an accountability session. I'll be clear, an accountability session is a different matter. With Working Together Jackson, that's tomorrow. I anticipate he'll come to that because they really won't. It won't be a structure where you can really ask questions that gets into the nuts and bolts of what are the differences of our policies. Mm-hmm. It will really just be an opportunity to say, will you agree to work with us? Yes, will you agree? And so that's an easier commitment to make. But you will dive into whether you've made these agreements in the past and whether you've done it before. I think that's a fair comparison to make.
Let's go. We got one on line 2. Caller, you are on the Lounge Radio Show with Marlena and Lex Luga. What's your name?
Yeah, please turn your radio down.
And if you're listening, please turn your radio down so we don't hear echo.
Okay, my name is Laverne.
Hi, Laverne. What's your question?
How are you doing?
I just want to say, people better wake up because do not go and vote for John Horn. Because John Horn is the middleman for the takeover. Don't vote for John Horn.
That's it. Oh, well, I think she had a statement. Thank you, Laverne, for that.
I appreciate it. And let me say this, because I don't want, and I thank you for that, but I don't want this campaign to be about an anti-candidate, right? I want you to know that we're going to build on progress. I want you to know that we're going to make investments. And some people may ask, well, Mayor, why haven't we made those investments just yet, right? First of all, when we look at the trauma and the issues that we've had in our city, it's hard bringing industry here when you don't have water, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard bringing industry here when you have the significant infrastructure challenges that we've had. And so I've searched high and low to do those things. And so we've had some great successes. I've also learned, right? There's some things that, in year 8 that I now understand. And if given the opportunity, I would do them differently. But I know why we don't see investment as to the level we should in West Jackson and South Jackson. Because banks are often unwilling to loan to developers because they feel like it's a greater risk to see a return on their investment. And so that's why we've established a revolving loan fund with the city so that we can operate as the bank, that we can help developers to bring important projects to our city. And as we start seeing it turn the corner, then the private sector, usually takes over, and then we can focus our dollars elsewhere. Wherever you see high poverty, you typically see high crime. Right. And so, anyone who, is vying for this job, whether, to continue or for the first time, is lying to you if they say that they know what they're doing. There's lying to you if they say that they have all of the answers. And so this is a position that you learn, and you have to have a humble enough spirit to understand and be open and receptive to the things that you don't know to continue to grow. I will say, though, in comparison, we've been able to get far more money in my 8 years in comparison to my opponent's 30.
Now, I know we only have a few minutes because we do have a show coming on after us, and I'm sorry, callers, we didn't get to everybody, but I just want to know with the upcoming runoff election on April 22nd, how are you adjusting your campaign strategy to address concerns of voters and regain confidence? Yeah, well, first and foremost, I spoke to this, that our campaign has looked differently than past campaigns because of this effort to smear our names, and because of the instruction of my legal counsel. I hadn't asked for things like, I hadn't made personal phone calls for donations to my campaign. So when you don't see as many signs, there's a reason, right? When you don't see those things, there's a reason. But good old-fashioned work, right? Hard work. We're going to make certain that we're not out work. We're going to go and take the message to the community. Even when there isn't a debate, to Don's question, I'm willing to be there and make sure that I'm meeting with people and speaking to them. We're going to make certain that people understand not only the success that we've had, but the direction we're headed in, right? And we want to cast a vision of where we can be as a city. We want to make certain that we are giving them programmatic solutions. Don't allow someone to tell you they're going to pave your road. Ask them, how are you going to pave my road? Because the city of Jackson isn't one that we fail to make this happen or this happen for a lack of political will. It usually does not happen for a lack of resources.
So how are you going to drive in the resources? And if your plan for success is dependent on someone else seeing value in you, depending on with a hat in hand approach to the state, not to say that we don't look at diplomacy, not to say that we don't build relationships. That's what we did when we saved the school district. When I got the $800 million, working with our delegation, not only Congressman Benny Thompson, but also Roger Wicker, also Michael Guest, also Cindy Hyde's office. We met every Friday. So this whole notion of us not working together is a false notion that is intentionally put out there in order to distract. So I want people to know that we have tools in order to see success, not only in infrastructure with dedicated lines of funding, not only in public safety, but not only funding police, but investing in community, and not only with economic development, not only the areas that we have already seen investment in Bellhaven, Fondren, and downtown, but making sure that we have creative solutions to make certain that you can see it on Terry Road and Robinson Road as well.
Right. So now we only got a few minutes.
Well, I think we may not get our call, so we're going to ask the question online. So I guess we won't accept any more calls because we have reached our time and we do have someone coming in.
30 seconds for this answer.
Okay.
So to anyone listening, just in a quick answer, 30 seconds or less,
pitch.
what would be the reason that I should vote for you? Tell every citizen listening that in 30 seconds or less if you can.
30 seconds. You should vote for me because I don't submit that I have all the answers to your questions, but I'm willing to engage in a collective genius process that allows you to always be at the table to be a part of the solution. So whether you've agreed with me or not, I'm still your man because I'm not above reproach.
That's it. Well, we appreciate you. You know, it wasn't that bad, right?
All right.
It wasn't that bad.
I got to come back. So let me actually. I know this
is
is campaign time, but let's talk some more about music.
Yeah.
And just I want to know more about what became so infectious about Southern Soul for you guys that y'all are hosting this platform. I applaud y'all for doing it.
We have to. Yes, it's such and now it is probably. I'm going to go to say this the #1 genre right now in the world. I mean, we had 803 Fresh on Good Morning America, the boots on the ground, fan, where your fans at. So definitely
if I see another fan.
Ooh, man, I got my fan there. I got my fan with me right now.
Okay, let me say, all right, please keep buying the fans.
Well, we appreciate you so much, callers. Thank you so much for tuning in and calling. Thank you guys for watching us. Tune in next week. We'll have Lady Red Top here, right? On the lounge.
And to get those tickets, go to the Lounge Radio Show page on Facebook and answer the question: when did the mayor first take office? When did the mayor first take office?
What year was that?
Yep,
and the first person in our chat under this live stream, and it won't be live once we turn it off, the first person to answer that correctly will win the 2 tickets, and y'all can join me down at the Coffee Fest where we're just gonna be jittery all day, all day. So I'm excited. Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Be safe, and Handy, take us on out of here.
All right, same week, next week, same time, same channel,
same backbone, all that.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, y'all got it. Y'all got it to a science, Marlena. Y'all got it together, man. Y'all the first one. Man, why you ain't got no? Why you ain't got no?
I don't know. You just see me sitting on the table.
You gotta get y'all I'm about to get a call. You need a backdrop. Can we get a quick picture? Yeah, unless you use mine. We're gonna do it against the.
Yeah, take a shit.
Amber Sykes just answered the question.
Oh, really?
Who did that? Somebody Amber Sykes.
Tell me, cheese. Oh, we'll get you in a minute. But we'll give him his ticket.
Every iPhone picture looks better than mine. There you go. 1, 2.
Are you an Android user?
No, I'm an iPhone user, but everyone's iPhone is better than my wife.
the
Everyone's phone
15,
looks better than mine.
The newest.
Okay.
Like when I take a picture and I look at my screen, it doesn't look.
Well, I'm terrible. I don't really take. I take pictures when people take them. I never pull out my camera and take a picture. So
I'm the best picture that you don't get older. I take
Albert will be in touch with you to give you your tickets. Thank you. He did 27.